Welcome to another episode of In the Living Room. I am your host, Stephanie Lopez, and my guest is Anton James.
Yes.
Our topic of discussion is going to be one that I hope will benefit a lot of people. The topic is balancing fatherhood and healing after divorce. Now, I want you to put your hands up when you hear this topic. Number of people out there, if this topic will appeal to you, all the divorcees and how you go through that. Before we begin, as is my custom, I'm going to ask Anton to say just a short prayer.
No problem. Heavenly Father, I thank you for another day. I thank you for the opportunity to come today and share. Lord, the truth be told, sometimes you feel like you're going through this journey of life and you feel you're alone. So God, I'm thanking you that during those times you said, Lord, you will carry us and take us up. So as we share tonight, God, I'm asking you to give us insight that can uplift and call your name. So Lord, we thank you in advance for what you have already done, what you've taken us through, and what you will do, because you said greater these things that you have in store for us. So I thank you. And I praise you in advance. In Jesus' name, amen.
Amen. Amen. Anton, thank you for coming.
No problem.
And I'm so happy that you agreed to do this topic, because so many of our men and women have had challenges after divorce.
Yes, for
and
sure.
With fatherhood or motherhood.
For sure.
And I'm sure you will be able to relate to what Anton has to say.
Mm-hmm.
So Anton, my first question is, let's start with your story.
Yes.
How did you navigate the early days after your divorce?
Wow. Yeah, mine will definitely be unique. And why mine was unique? Because as part of my divorce, I maintained full custody of my kids. Now, I have a daughter and I had a son.
Yes.
And how did you navigate that? It was, at that point, it had to make a conscious decision that they were the entire focus. They were the focus on everything. You know, for the daughter, I had to learn to, it was an adjustment, learn to plait hair. And I could do it before, but you have to become proficient at it because, you know, she's a lot of hair. You have to learn to have, you know, longer conversation and learn to make your whole focus on them. So at that point, how did I navigate it? It was really, you had to learn to really say, put yourself aside.
Yes.
And make everything, and utilize both the systems that you know, and there could be historic systems, being family for sure, being a church community for sure, being friends for sure, being parents for sure, and pray. That's when you learn to pray like you've never learned before.
And emotionally?
Oh, emotion, that was a very hard time, because at that point, I'm balancing, I don't really understand why this whole thing is happening.
Yes.
Like why? Like you're asking so many questions. Divorce is really like death. You go through all the stages of, you know, death, and you're angry, then you don't understand, and then you finally reconcile, and you move forward, and you're trying to, but you've got to do it individually, and then you have to do it on behalf of the kids. So you've got to make sure that you keep yourself in an emotional stable place so that you don't negatively impact the kids. You have to learn how to put aside whatever, even if you're upset, is to put that aside so that the kids are more positively impacted towards, whether from a scholastic perspective, from an emotional healing perspective, from a social perspective, and from a trusting to understand, you know, while things are different, you know, it's not about you. And let me tell you how how we can recover, and we make time for them different, change, but different, but still positive.
You know, I might ask them how long ago all of this took place. Well, at what stage were the kids, and you know? So
we first split. My daughter, she was in kindergarten. My son was pre-kindergarten, so he was in grade 4. He was 4 years old. That's not grade 4. So at that time, I had to, man.
It was a challenge.
It was a huge challenge.
Emotionally.
Well, it's a challenge in so many ways. One, both from a physical perspective. Society is not structured to support fathers, single fathers. And so it was hard, man.
Yes.
Reason why. So for example, when I was a consultant, I couldn't consult because as a consultant, I would be flying to clients. And I could be in England, it could be in the States, but I now have young kids, so I couldn't fly anymore.
Yeah.
And so oh God. It
I'm
was
bringing back bad emotions, right?
It was, cause it was hard. Like I can't, it was really hard.
Yes.
But, I thank God. I'll tell you the honest truth, I'm a very logical individual.
Yes.
And I can tell you this without a shadow of a doubt. Logically, I don't know how I made it. Like if I was to take God out of the picture, I don't know how I made it. And the reason I'll say that is when you're going through, like you're factoring from time, how much time you have in an evening time,
Yes.
how much things are costing, how much daycare is, how much you're bringing in, how much it costs for, just costing from a financial, costing from a emotional, and then bouncing off. If it wasn't for God, I don't know how I would have made it. That's just the honest truth.
Yeah, I figure I can see you with small children having to do that, having to cancel all your engagements just to be home with them,
Oh, for sure.
to
Listen,
read storybooks.
so when I
and
first
stuff.
divorced, I didn't date for years. I didn't have a social life. I had none. And the reason why, because prior to getting divorced, I lived a pretty good life. I was, I was on the scene, I had social, I enjoyed life. And I was like, okay, they're only young once. I'm putting everything to them because if I date, that takes away from them. If I go out on social life, that takes away time from them. I'm like, they're young, that's when they're the most vulnerable.
So true.
And so even when they were young, my son and my daughter, I had to teach them school. So my son wasn't in school yet. I had to teach him French. I had to teach him different languages and math and school and reading and writing. Because again, I didn't want them to be behind. I didn't want also the emotional support to kind of take them through and hearing the details. And God bless girl children. God bless them. But wow, that was such an adjustment, man. An example would be, school would start, they come home from school and say, son, how was your day? Dad, you know what? I went to school. I raced Johnny. I beat him today. We were the best. School was fun. Dad was great. Son, that's a great day. He's content. We've had a fully conversation. It was phenomenal.
With your daughter.
Oh dear God.
So the son is different from the daughter.
Oh.
The daughter just cheer you up.
Oh. Yeah.
Gives you the smile on your face when you think about her.
Yeah, it was an adjustment. It was a beautiful thing, but the details and the stories were so long. I said, Age, how was your day? Well, Dad, you remember the pants you bought me? The one with the blue stripes and the pink tail and this? Well, Susie was wearing this. She would go into the details about what she's wearing and then what someone else is wearing. And so I had to learn to make that adjustment. But at the end, it was so beautiful, man.
And just listen.
Oh, yes. You have to
And contrast that to your son. What would he say if you asked him the same question?
Well, it was just that.
That's
The
just
conversation with him would be a 2-minute conversation, and we were great. That was a great summary. Her
Yes.
summary would be at least 30 minutes. So,
30 details.
so you had to learn I had to learn to adjust to the needs of each of the children because each child is different. So I had to be more listening and sitting down and listening for a 40-minute story that's really for a 2-minute question. I had to learn, okay, and listen with, do not show that you're wandering. Dad, you're not listening to me. I'm sorry, sweetheart. I'm listening. I'm listening. So I really had to learn to grow in a way to be supportive. And really, but as an underpinning, it was all, at that phase, it's all about them.
Yes.
Me didn't matter. And that was the whole.
How long ago was that?
Dear God. So it's about 10 years now. That's 10 years.
And I want to say, well, for all the single beautiful ladies out there.
Yeah.
I'm selling my good friend.
Yes.
Are you ready to go back on the dating line? On dating, you do that? They're big now.
Oh
14.
yeah, for sure.
They're 14 and something now.
Oh no. So they are now.
Yeah.
Let's see here. So what from the final? That's from the final divorce. When we split was more than that.
Yeah.
My eldest just went away to school. She's gone away to school in the States. She goes to HBCU.
Ooh.
And my son will be going away next year.
Wow.
Yeah.
So you're an empty house now?
Almost. So my son.
Ready to
Yeah.
start over.
Yeah, for
But
sure.
you know, I admire what you said, that those times you devoted
Yeah.
all your time to see
Oh, for
that
sure.
your children succeeded
For sure.
and have that balanced life emotionally, both emotionally and spiritually, because I know
For sure.
that you are a devoted
For sure. And see,
worshiper.
because that's the key thing. The truth is,
Yes.
I'm big. I'm
Yeah.
like, I live life and we didn't plan this. And but they're young and they're so impressionable, you know.
Yes.
Cognitive dissonance really anchors up until their young age. Whatever you put in them, that's what's
Yes.
going to be used as a grand, train up a child in the way she goes, not depart from the path.
Yes.
So it's so key to train them in ways that they feel loved, they feel supported, they feel engaged, they feel, and understand and learn to adjust each one of them.
I understand that because
Mercy.
I grew up, I was telling you before that I grew up with a stepmother.
Mhm.
And I had my father there, but my father didn't have time to pay. I felt like he loved me, I knew that, but I don't think he had enough time to pay attention to me, you know. He had to pay attention to to his wife and the children. I just felt like I was like a fly on the wall, you know, and I think most children who grew up without one thing or the other, a parent, mother or father, that they must feel something. We have impressionable stages in our lives.
For sure.
And when we're young, we need that. We need to know that somebody love and care for us.
Correct.
Somebody has a time to listen to us,
Correct.
to converse with us, you know. And this is what I admire, that you took that time to do that. Not many people would. They would be thinking about their own emotions.
Well, listen, man, as I said, the journey was not easy. Like, even
Yes.
going through that divorce process, lawyers and the judges and all the groups were telling me, you're a father, you're not getting your kids, just give up on that and so forth. And, no, I says no. Listen, at the end of the day, when life is said and done, and all is over, God is not going to come to me and say, what did your lawyers advise you? He's going to say, Anton, what did you do with the children that I gave you?
Yes.
And so I want to be able to say, you know what, God? These are my kids.
Yes.
And I did everything that I knew from, man, that was something.
You did everything you knew.
Everything that I knew.
You gave them all.
Everything.
And they know that you did that.
Everything.
And that's the important thing.
Yeah.
You know, I am so much against, because I grew up with, as I said, with a step parent. I don't know how fathers or mothers are. I would say to the step people, I always come back and say to the step people, we grow up. We don't stay small. So the person who God put in your life might be the child God puts in your life, might be the child who you need to rely on at an older age. So those step parents, when they have their children and they're maltreating them, remember that we grow up.
Mercy.
We don't stay small.
Mercy.
Mercy. And that is important. And fathers and mothers
Mercy.
who have had children, who for some reason or the other has to give them up, remember that the way you bring up your child, bring up a child away,
It shall go.
and when he's old,
Shall not depart from the
never
path.
depart from it.
Yes.
And I find that anchoring a child in spirituality
Yes.
is so important, because you're going to be learning
Yeah.
principles.
Yeah.
Principles that will gear your life.
Well, I think you're hitting it on. For me, the key was absolutely spirituality had to be the foundational.
Yes.
but it was also making sure they were balanced as well. Because kids, not just my kids, but most kids are different. Like one
Yeah.
child, there could be 4 children in the household, and 4 totally different personalities.
It's true.
And so I really had to give a balance to allow each one to have their own expression. When one wasn't doing well, for example,
Yeah.
we go tutoring. And one would tutor, and we figure out cheers to not only help them in that class,
Yes.
but to cheer them on. And so make it when one was going in, gymnastics, we'd sit down there and while, Asia may be flipping around with gymnastics, me and Miles are there chipping and just making it fun so that
Yeah.
not only are they learning that they're supported, but you're teaching each one of them how to support each other.
Yes.
Because the truth be told, the challenge that I see nowadays is a lack of advocacy.
Yes.
Advocacy both in scholastic, in schools. Like I'd go to the schools and I hate to say it, there was definitely some I would go there and a lot of parents, they weren't there.
Yes.
I would have, some of my children would have problems and they would say, don't worry, your child's doing great, he's a great helper. I'm like, listen to me, don't tell me she's a great helper. Don't tell me he's a great helper. I don't want to hear he's a helper.
Yes.
How's happening here? What's going on here? My child is a problem. No, I want to know. Here, going on here. Let's talk about this. Oh, let's don't worry about us doing fine. No.
No.
I would take them in. I would put them in advanced math and
Yes.
and these Kumons and so forth. They says, oh, let the child play. And I'm like, my children play. They're in gymnastics and soccer and they're into basketball and so forth. I said, but the reality is, give them the balance. Advocate for when they're not there, and don't just take others' word for it. I understand why. I don't blame some parents because the truth be told, they're battling just to keep their head above water, right? And I can relate. But at the end of the day, man, I don't think enough parents recognize that when you're a parent, you are now secondary to your kids. I don't think a lot embrace that in its fullness.
Yes.
But anyways, I'll land the plane there. But,
That is true. I agree with you. It's true because one of the things, as a past teacher myself, right, I always make a way to let the parents realize that they need to be present.
100%.
To the teachers' meetings.
100%.
You don't, and I can tell you that each child, if you as a parent show up to the meeting where all the child emotions will be developed, the child will feel better about themselves.
100%.
Because here I am, I feel good because my mother or my father.
That's
present.
100%. Because oftentimes, I'll say, particularly in our community, there tends to be, it appears to be an inclination where it's more to don't worry about type mentality. And that is not part of my ministry at all. I remember they're having some challenges, and man, I love playing soccer. So if you ask me one thing I love to do, I love to play soccer. But the truth be told, I said, what? I gave up soccer and I drove 45 minutes 3 to 4 times a week and sat on someone's couch, burying my hand in my forehead every night until they got, because the truth be told, again, I go back to the original point. When your child knows that when they're struggling, someone's showing up for them, someone will fight for them and fight with them, meaning, listen, if you're struggling, I will help you, I will be, and if I can't, I'm going to find someone that can. Because the truth be told, it's one thing to tell them, you can do all things through Christ's strength in me, but you don't give them the tools to do it. No. You can do all things, and I believe, I don't care if they don't believe. I believe. I stand behind you. And it's so important because that not only to their intellectual, but their emotional and their spiritual being, because they recognize that's, parents is the closest what people understand is how they relate to God. Because if your parents don't look out for you, they don't really understand what it is to look to God to look out for you. So again, yes, you mentioned earlier on, I definitely have my belief, my faith. And my faith is what carried me through, and that's really the example that I use. My mom, she was had my back. I knew that 100%. And I was like, okay, because of that, I knew that no matter what challenges I may have in school, I can make it through. So I was like, if she could do that for me,
Yes.
in my opinion,
You
we can't do
can't do
the
it
same
for
thing.
your big You know, many fathers struggle with guilt or shame.
Yeah,
You know, I'm sure you didn't have that.
yeah.
How would you advise, or what would be your perspective on why they would struggle with that?
Oh, no. I definitely had guilt.
You did?
Oh, for sure.
Oh,
I never wanted my children to grow up in a single household. That was never the plan. Like, that was,
yeah.
I wish it could have been avoided. It couldn't
Yes.
have been avoided. But was there guilt? Absolutely. And the truth be told, looking back in retrospect, I started to spoil them. Because I didn't want them to feel that they didn't have, that, you know, they couldn't have, and that's partly why I put so much into them. Like I said, I didn't date, I didn't have a social life, I didn't play soccer, or if I played, they're playing with me too. If I'm traveling, they're traveling too. I've used a babysitter twice in their entire lifetime. They went twice, and they're both with their friends' parents. Unless they're with their parents or I was with my mother, they're with me. Everywhere I go, they're with me.
Wow, I wish I had a father like
No, they're my children, and we're going to have fun. We went
Yes.
horseback riding. We traveled to Jamaica. We went all over the place.
All over the place
We
together.
learned to skate. We learned to swim. We learned to ride bike. We went swimming. We did everything. We played soccer, and they actually became good at soccer too. They played with big men. I played with big men. Some of my guys played national squad, and these two went from they were scared to Angel. Angel, listen, she's a girl child. She could take on a lot of big men. The point being is
Yes.
that advocacy, that guilt was that I didn't want them to feel left out or felt kind of strange. But it did get to a place where, I won't lie, I was buying them a lot of stuff. So
Yes.
I would go through and
Spoiling.
I was spoiling them. And I had to change it because I started to realize they didn't realize the value. Like, I bought my son, I remember buying him a high-end name brand suit.
Yes.
Very high. It was a Hugo Boss suit. I can't forget it. It was a Hugo Boss suit. And I was so proud because I saved up and saved. And I got a Hugo Boss. And he went to church one day and played in church and slip and tear up the knee. Yeah, then I tore the knee. I was almost ready to lose my mind. And my son, do you know how much that thing cost? But to him, I was like, okay. Because they don't recognize the value. But retrospect, I recognized that while I was giving them stuff, I finally got to a place where I was like, okay, this is not good because you're teaching them a different lesson. You're letting your guilt of them being in single household outweigh the positive impact that they could actually go through that. So I had to learn to listen. No, I'm not buying you the high expensive stuff just because, or I'm not doing this just because.
Yes.
If you want to do that, I'll do it with you. If you want this high-end stuff, cool. Tell you what we'll do. We developed a policy. Whatever you want on this planet, whatever you want, I will get it for you.
Yes.
But you have to pay for half. And so we work together so that my guilt wasn't just based upon showering them with stuff. It was now, how do we work together? And simultaneously, you learn the value of the stuff that I'm giving you. Because when you recognize that Hugo Boss suit is not
Cheap.
right.
So this brings me to those parents then who buy them, who fill their kids with expensive stuff.
Yeah.
Expensive things like expensive shoes.
Yeah.
And the parents themselves really can't afford it, but
100%.
out of love and guilt, I think buying those things for them is a little bit of guilt too.
Yeah. They're doing themselves that the kids a disservice.
Yes.
Because now you have kids growing up that, one, they have expectation that is what they're going to get. That's normal.
Yes.
Two, they don't have the ability to do it for themselves. And three, if something happens to that parent, the parent can't do it for themselves, then they're out the door. And I've seen some kids, they'll have these Jordans and so forth, and they'll be running through the mud. Okay, yeah, it's got matches, but you need another pair of shoes. Not recognizing that parent sacrificed to whatever to get that. Life is a funny thing. Oftentimes we go up and say, boy, we had a certain struggle, and boy, But then my fear, so I don't want my picnic to feel that.
Yes.
Sometimes that was the best thing.
It's the best thing.
It was, simple things.
And I've been observing, I have no statistics to prove that it is so.
Yeah.
That I find that a lot of people who come from poor homes, who know what it is to be in lack or need, they really seem to do much better than a lot of people who grow up in, in what I don't want you in, not necessarily wealth, but privilege.
Well, I'll tell you this. Called The Fourth Turning by Hughes and Strauss. And basically what the fourth turning is, it's a phrase that most of us have heard. It's, hard times make strong men. Strong men make good times. Good times make weak men. Weak men make hard times. And they say right now in the turning of life right now, so I'll break it down in a second, that most people that came to North America, for example, they immigrated from wherever they came from because they're looking for something better. And because they were looking for something better, they fought, they worked, they sacrificed, did everything they can so that they could be better, their children could be better. The children now have come to a place where they have now inherited certain aspects. And because they see the access or be able to borrow that of middle class lifestyle, the kids now don't have the same drive to work, to push, to sacrifice again. And that's what they're seeing. So our community is actually declining, not inclining, because we seem to have the trappings of middle class lifestyle. And that is one of the things, it's bred to an entitled mentality where they don't know how that hard grit, that hard work ethic, just push through no matter what.
It's so true, I agree with you. I have evidence of that. Children can sometimes be emotional.
Yeah.
Or can sense. They can sense.
Yeah.
Children can sense when your emotional changes.
Yeah.
So if they can sense, how did you explain this situation of what you were going through, divorce, and how at that small age, and what kind of advice would you give to different people at different stages of life?
Yeah, that was hard.
Yes.
Because now I'm trying to logically speak something through to the reality they see. They see things are very different. But also, for me, the default was always for their emotional stability.
Yes.
So, I'll ask the question, how did I have that conversation? I just had straight conversation with them. I didn't beat around the bush, but more importantly, and I was very cognizant of this, I didn't in any way talk negatively about their mother. I didn't talk negatively about their mother. I didn't tear down their mother. I didn't talk about... everything was always in a positive experience, because the reality, when you tear down one of the parents, what you don't recognize is you're tearing down half of them. And for them, they will internalize it differently. They may not internalize right now because they don't really get it. So I talked to them and said, listen, the reality is your mother and I, we're clearly not together. We don't love you any less. This has nothing to do with you. So it's one to always to reassure them that we both love you. You guys are the world. You are the biggest blessing that I ever had. I prayed for you for years, and thank God for you, because you is what keeps me. You make sure you build them. Yes. And oh God, sometimes when you want to go back in my ball, I just stand strong and say, listen, let's make it a positive. But most importantly, I never tore down their mother. I never, when they said, I don't understand why. Listen, you know what? Sometimes let's just pray. Let's just pray on it, because people act differently in different scenarios. And remember when you were mad at someone for this, and you didn't really understand, and sometimes you just don't understand. But once you get older, we'll explain more.
That is so good. Because I know personally that there are mothers and there are fathers who tear down, and they're looking for love, They're looking for favoritism among the child, and they're
1000%.
thinking that the child is going to love them more.
1000%.
But absolutely does not happen, because I don't think it happens, because there comes a time when the child understands that your problem is not my problem. And I say that because I'm breaking off here to look at those children who were abandoned, look at those children who were neglected as babies,
Yes.
dumped,
Yes.
whatever. Why is it that you think that they go try to find these parents and they always forgive them? Because the parents might dump them, leave them with this parent. They want to know who their biological parents are. And they're coming back and they're saying, Mom and Dad, I forgive you. I understand you were in this situation at this time. Is it the same thing? Do you think?
That is different. I would say it's slightly different because so I would say I'm an anomaly to a certain extent because most fathers don't get full custody of their kids. Most don't have, aren't the primary, they weren't. And so in scenarios when they were abandoned as a child, that therefore they don't have a natural inclination towards one or the other. But because of my situation, I get into contact with a lot of parents, a lot of support groups and so forth. And I've heard and seen and experienced a lot of ones where one parent is totally undermining the other parent. Where one parent is speaking all manners of things to the other parent and therefore poisoning the environment. And the truth be told, I've seen in environments where sometimes the child does not go to the other parent and is receptive or forgiving, or because they've been poisoned. It's cognitive dissonance. You've been taught your entire life that this person was this way and that way and so forth. And say you didn't have experience to see otherwise, then you're going to naturally believe what you heard. You know, you look at common stories. You look at Tupac. They said, oh, Tupac was raised his whole life, and said that his dad took off and abandoned him and so forth. And later on in life, he met his dad and said, no, look, here's evidence. I was trying to, and he found the different stories. There's so many different stories, but for years, these guys hated their parents, or hated their mother, or hated their father, or hated, and so it's, unfortunately, I would say it's quite rampant. I would suspect, I don't have stats on that, but I would say it's quite rampant where there's a lot that are really putting some a lot of poison against an opposite parent. And I would behoove anyone, do not do that.
Not do it.
Because you're winning a short battle, but the one's paying the biggest cost is not you, it's the child. Because ultimately, if they think they're rejected, then that will undermine a lot of their personal esteem issues and translate in other ways that you have no idea what.
True. And I brought that up too because I know personally of persons who have separated, and one person, your father is no good. Your mother is no good, your mother is this. And the only reason I always say that one person can do that to another person is the fact that they are seeking a love, more attention from that child. But as I said before, the child is going to say at some point, I have nothing to do with this. Yeah?
That's true. But that is true. Hopefully that is true. But you're up until that point. I've seen a lot of that.
Yeah.
A lot.
Kids go to school and fight.
100%.
And anger just boils up in this child. You were going to say something.
Well, no, you're hitting it dead on. Unfortunately, I see it a lot where one parent is, for whatever reason, that didn't work out, that one did whatever to the other person, they want to get back, and so they're using the kids as a tool against the other one. And I've seen it, and it leads to such hard environments, and the children really do struggle. The kids appear to be good, and they appear to be good for many, 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 many years, but it's devastating.
The impact even is when they grow up into mature people too. They can't find it. They don't have trustworthy
Yes.
relationships.
Yes.
I don't think I am thinking, if I go right back, I'm thinking that if you don't have a trustworthy relationship, you can't find everybody you can't trust.
100%.
At some point, my father left, my mother went, so and so and so. I'm going to watch you everywhere you go.
Well, you're hitting, you know,
You
the
think
Bible
that-
says there's to the third and fourth generation. So there's
Yes.
generational curses, but generational curses are done a couple of ways.
Yes.
One, it can be from a spiritual bloodline, but it also can be by action. It's taught action. You know, people say as well, I'm heavy set, so my kids are heavy set. Well, yes, you may have a slight predisposition, but the truth be told, the reason why they may be heavy set because you've taught them how to cook, how to eat, how to so forth. Well, in environments where you're speaking into the child negativity, well, you've taught them how to speak and how to interact and how to view the others. And so when they come, what do you think that they do? Because the truth be told, no matter who you're with, if you end up being with someone that's absolutely phenomenal, I promise you, you're going to have some serious issues with them. And the truth be told is what tools are you going to use to work through those issues? Not come through and fight those issues, but work through them. But if the tool that you've been taught was that the opposite sex is blah, 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 then you're going to by nature default and say, you know what? Yes, I know you're no good and blah, 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 and you're da-da-da-da, and whatever that negative view is. In contrast, if you taught, okay, listen, you're a challenge here. You know, in psychology, there's a thing called cognitive, we talk about cognitive dissonance, but specifically in parenting, there's what's called a nurturing parenting and a corrective parenting. That, I'll say those terms very easy to use. And it says there's one where a parent will be, you fell down, you spilled that, okay, don't worry, we can actually work through it. It's okay, you know what happens is accidental. You know what? Those children come out so much more balanced versus you drop, how many times, and you blaze into the child, they respond differently.
Yes.
Well, what they don't realize is when you're teaching that negative and you're teaching them how to respond, but you're also teaching them how not to work through issues. And the reality is you think that it's limited to just interpersonal. It's not. Because the same when you're teaching them, when adversary comes, fight through it and it's blaze. Well, what happens when they go into work? What happens when they have professional environments? Well, they have, it's the foundational tools are so important and it impacts so many processes of their lives. So anyways, that's a personal issue that it hits me personally and it hits me both, as I said, both in what I've gone through, what I've seen others gone through my support groups. I really wish that could be communicated more within our community.
Yeah,
I'll add
great, Joe. We're taking a few seconds break and we'll be right back.
This podcast is brought to you by CHRYTV. Christ has redeemed you television. At CHRYTV, we believe in sharing stories of faith, hope, and transformation. From testimonies to biblical teaching, each program is designed to inspire and encourage your walk with God. Don't forget to watch, listen, and subscribe, because your story isn't finished yet.
Welcome back to In the Living Room. My guest is Anton James, and our topic of discussion is balancing fatherhood and healing after divorce. Welcome back, Anton.
Yeah.
Let's continue with our discussion.
Sure.
Now, you said something in the break that I wanted to repeat, and I think that is so important.
Yeah. You were asking me what's my view on parenting. And
Yes.
again, I'm about being a balanced parent. By balanced mean is I had one of my cousins, he really was bright.
Yes.
But if I'm going to be truthful, social skills was very low. So I was always about being balanced with my kids. I wanted to play hard. I wanted to have fun. We cooked together. We traveled together. We went to Florida. I went to Jamaica. Went to Atlanta. We went to North Carolina. We drove out. We went everywhere. And so we had a great interaction. We played. We had so much fun. But I am not of the belief where I'm still the old school belief. where I want to be friendly, but I am not your friend. I am your father. I'm not here to, you and me opinion is not equal. Your thoughts and my thoughts are not equal. We can sit and we can discuss issues. And sometimes I will understand your perspective and I will mold your perspective. But have no doubt, let there be no form of confusing, because when I see some of these parents do, I don't understand it.
Yes.
It's the children are running the parents.
Yes.
That's foolishness. That's absolute fool. I'm not coming home. You're not coming home to her. I'm not doing that.
So what?
Yeah, and a lot of these parents, I don't get.
How do you address those when a child speaks to a parent in that kind of manner? Train up the child.
Oh no,
goes right back to there, right?
Oh, listen to me. Yeah, the problem is if you are addressing that issue when they're big, you're in trouble, because it's already in them. The tree is already bent from the time they're young. When they think of that, because in societies, particularly if they're going to, whatever culture they're in, if they're in a culture that they're empowering kids, and I don't really understand it. The teachers, they're in grade 1 and 2, calling by first name, and they know their personal life, and what they say is more important. And well, from the time you allow that to pass, then the fruit of that will be that they're going to sit down when you say, well, it's time to go to bed. Well, I don't think so. Who asked you? Who asked you? I said, it's time to go.
Time to go to bed.
Okay, so you understand.
Yes.
And so it really is, how do I address that? I address from the time they're young.
Yes.
And there's certain things, yes, let's talk about certain things. And the truth is, we won't agree on all things. And the truth is, it's not we don't have to agree on all issues. And the truth is, I'm not going to be an iron fist. No, it's my way, no way. No, not at all. Particularly as they get older. Like, as you cross the chasms in children's maturity and intellectual ability, you've really got to learn to adjust the way you parent. However, as you transition from you're teaching them to you're guiding them to you're training them until you're matriculating them, you're matriculating them through,
yes,
you change. But I'm still your parent. I mean, you don't talk to me any way you feel to talk to. You don't tell me what you're doing. You're not making the rules. I was in the store the other day and I'm not going anywhere, and blink, 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 He's got alone. He's got alone. He's got alone. That's all I can say.
And so, if you train them early, you don't have to beat them. You don't have to do all these things to the child, because the child knows the line. And the child grows with respect for other people. What do you think about this? This is like going outside a little bit.
Yeah.
But what do you think about the teachers reinforcing bad behaviors because the child comes to school and they can call you by your first name?
I think all that's foolishness. I think the key is what they're doing. They're undermining respect. So there's no longer a regard for respect. So respect is viewed as subjective. That whole comfortability, and I may be old school,
Yes.
but I think they're doing damage to the child, because when you, this whole, well, you open a can of worms. When you bring any person to a place where they feel entitled, not based upon anything, then there's no value for it. Meaning that when they think they can when they can talk to you, they're 5 years old and talk to you like you are at the same level, there's a big problem. Because at that point, that they don't really understand. You're not giving them the tools to really survive in life. Because while at school, the teacher may not be able to respond, the guy in the mall will give you a good kick, and will kick you right down.
Yes.
And rightfully so. You have to realize that there's a certain respect. Respect is actually earned. It's not given because you think so.
Yes.
It's not, and that doesn't work for anyone. And so the mentality, whatever the child is nowadays, if a child wants to go to school and calls himself a cat,
Yes.
the teachers respond and say meow. And as a matter of fact, they won't even tell the parent. Like, all that mentality, that undermines the foundation it just undermines the foundation of society as a whole.
Yes, as a whole.
It's going to be really problematic, because it manifests in work, in school, in social, and now that's why you see a lot of kids that they're out of control.
So did you have this kind of conversation with your children? Because
Oh, 100%.
yes.
100%.
Yes.
I was never into that. I'm very clear. I joke, I play, and so forth, but I'm also very straightforward. And I would have it with the teachers and the principals, with them right there.
Yes.
That, you know what, at school, I understand you are, like I'll tell you, there's a particular issue that there was a few years ago, and there was a principal, I don't know if you want to talk about this on here.
Just say, don't call any names.
Okay, well, there was a principal, and he was a certain persuasion that what I wasn't my persuasion.
Yes.
And he was very strong in his persuasion.
Yes.
And so as part of the curriculum, he wanted to teach my children certain persuasions that did not line up with my beliefs. And I went to him and I said, listen, you know what? One, I brought my kids there so one, they can understand, when you have a challenge, the response isn't just to yell and scream. Have a discussion. This is how adults handle things.
Yes.
And I sat down with the principal and I said, listen, you and we have different opinion. And the truth be told, however, I believe you have as much right to your opinion as I have to mine. But as they are my children, this is what I want to ask of you. You're to teach the children how to think, not what to think. The morality side is that's my environment. In school, so
It's good parenting.
Therefore, I'm going to ask that when it comes to these certain topics, I do not want my children included. And I recognize it may be sketchy because there's two sides. So I'll tell you what, so there's no ambiguity, take them out of both sides. Anything that deals with this matter, and I'm hoping everyone could read through, I don't want them involved. I will take care of that one.
Okay.
And I taught them that, and I've have other issues where I would teach them, you know what, they would have a problem with the school. And I would say, listen, this is how you talk to your parents. Yes. This is how you talk to, even when you disagree.
Yes.
Vehemently disagree.
Yes.
You can still have
a conversation.
A conversation based upon logic, not emotion, your anger and just anger.
Yes.
Because anger without direction is leading, it does not open the doors. You may feel good for the moment, but you're going to feel a lot worse when the consequences come out.
That's true.
And so, for me, I always was how to teach them that way. And how to teach my kids that way because I am not of the belief that they're equal. I am not the belief that that you can speak and you're speaking. There's certain times, particularly when they're younger, as they get older,
yes.
you start to bring them more into conversations.
Yeah, that's good parenting.
But when they're kids, you don't speak in certain scenarios.
Yes.
You don't. You can sit down and listen. I want you to listen because I want you to understand the process.
Yes.
And then when we get home, I'll explain stuff to you. But when you're thinking that you're going to, I don't want to do, who asked you to do right now? Who asked you to do? Stop the noise. Because they got to know there's limits.
Yes.
And the reason why society is a problem is because a lot of people don't know there's limits, don't know what there is and can't be done.
And that is, and it comes back to them. It's a generational thing. Your parent didn't teach you, and so you have nothing to teach your children because they don't know any better.
Yeah.
You know, and that's the problem with society. Now, here you are, a single father. You have so far, my gosh, you have done so well as a single. You know, what are the challenges that you face that you could share with those people similar to you?
There's tons.
You can list them.
There's tons.
Yeah.
You know, there's no handbook for parenting.
That's true. That's a fact.
So along the way, a lot of mistakes have been made. Not just on their side, on my side too. The truth be told, there's times you learn and you gotta learn to evolve.
Yes.
And sometimes you evolve, but there's also times you gotta learn to stand your ground.
Yes.
And stand on what you believe.
Mm-hmm.
So the question you ask is, what mistakes was made along the way?
Yes.
Sometimes I can't lie. Sometimes as a parent, you get tired.
Yes.
Sometimes I get tired of fighting the battles and you want to say, you know what? You're what? Let's just say, okay, so you think go on, go do it.
Yes.
And that might not have been the best ways. And there's times when the transition, there was teachable moments that I had some teachable moments I don't think I optimized. Because as a parent, and particularly as a male, as a dominant male, if you have an issue, and whatever that issue is, we can have we have a discussion.
Yes.
And we have the same discussion a day later. And the same discussion 2 days later. And the same discussion 3 days later. At that point, you're not confused. You're not, you don't know. You are consciously doing what you are wanting to do. And there are times I say, okay, so seeing that you've made a conscious choice to understand, you need to understand the conscious decisions of what's going to happen. And so mistakes have been, there was times I probably could have been, maybe be a little more, one or two more times, be a little more nurturing in those times, maybe. And there's times I could have stopped certain things a little earlier. But I'll tell you this, the truth is, as a father, I have a softer side towards my daughter. But that does not mean that you love one more than the other. I do not have favorites of my kids. But a mistake I could have done is I could have
Convey that kind of feeling sometimes.
No, I never.
Oh, okay.
I've never given the feeling that I have favorites. My son would say I have favorites, and the reason why, because I would naturally defend my daughter, because it's just in me. It's part of my nature.
Yeah.
Is to fight and defend, particularly the woman I'm going to defend. That's natural. So he would say, "Dad, you're always protecting her," and so. Yes, maybe I could have found a more effective ways to do that. With my son, I could have had, you know what, I think it would have been advantageous. Because as he grows more, is too bull. The softer side I had towards my daughter and the communication might have been more advantageous as my son. Yeah. Don't get twisted with my son. Oh no, he's 16, 17. I will still kiss my son, hug up my son. I don't care. He's my son. And some people say, why are you kissing your son? Because he's my son. Like there's no. But sometimes I'd be more nurturing with him. I think I could have done that better. And I think another thing I could have done better. I could have learned to find different ways. I am traditional in nature. By nature, I'm more traditional. And maybe there's ways I could have tried a few more different ways to incentivize.
The fact of the matter is, as you said earlier, is that nobody gave us any book, no parenting book. And so because of that, I always say, my gosh, we're missing out on the generations, because the grandmother would teach the mother teach the children. Yeah. So I admire families where families that are like that. Yes, for sure. Unfortunately, I'm not one of those parents who came from a family where we had the generations meeting together. Kudos to those families. Well, Anton, is there anything you want to add to this big topic that I chose here? How you balance fatherhood after divorce?
Yeah, well, first is healing.
Yes.
You really got to take a lot of effort. So after divorce, I first took the kids to counseling. But the truth is, I went to counseling myself, because you have to really learn to purge. If you're going to build anything you're going to build, you've got to build it upon a foundation in it. A lot of times, so I would encourage anyone going through it, man, because it helped.
Yes.
It for sure helped, because a lot of stuff I didn't understand.
Yes.
Like, God, why?
And you were much younger too.
Yes.
Younger and made mistakes.
For sure. Listen to me. No matter who you are, no matter what you've done, there's no one person by himself that caused all issues. As great as I may think I am, I hide my wings on the weekends.
Yes.
But, there's things I could have done differently. There's things I could have done better. And so the truth be told, you've got to be able to understand specifically what were some of the challenges.
Yes.
What could you learn? And now, more importantly, and why it's more important, because it makes it a lot easier going forward, because now as you're older, you've gone through it, what works for you? What were the challenges? What were things that you can work through, or what are things you cannot work through?
Yes.
Where are the issues? So it sets your foundation as to where you go going forward.
Yes.
Again, I didn't date for years after,
Yes.
because I didn't want to take away time, effort, resources from my kids.
That's
but as I've started
admirable.
to get back.
I think that's very admirable. Because there you come, it's true. You've been paying attention to somebody else who's saying, oh, you love your children more than me, maturity,
Yeah, well, see, I experienced it. Actually went out, and it was actually ironic. I was out of the game for, quote unquote, the game for so long
Yes.
that I didn't even know when women were into me.
Yes.
You know how I knew?
Yes.
Because my daughter could tell. She's like, Dad, I want you to stay away from these girls, especially her and her. And she would call me, so why are you saying that?
Oh my gosh.
So she would know.
Yes.
But at that stage, I was so out of tune with, I wasn't even thinking
You
about
weren't thinking about those lines, but she said
she
it was iron.
She knew.
She said it women.
She knew 100%. But it's a beautiful thing. I say it to say this.
Yes.
Healing. Healing is such a necessary thing, not only for yourself, but for the kids. 2, focus. I know it's not easy. Listen, divorce is really a death.
Yes.
But make it a focus to focus on them first. The truth be told, no matter where we are, we brought them into this world. We are responsible. At the end of the day, I'm a believer, but God is going to ask you, what did you do? And the 3, know what you stand for. And you've got to stand for something. Please, please surround yourself with people that are on a higher echelon that you're trying to go to. Too many people surround themselves with people that just agree or on the same level. Life is based upon growth. If you're not growing, you're devolving. If you're surrounding yourself with people that just think that way, then that's what you want to be. It's our natural nature to want your children to be better than you. Well, if you don't have anything better in you, then you can't teach them better. So you've got to continue to strive and grow so that they can grow, so that they can be happy. Then last, do not here's a contradiction though, but as they get older, learn to evolve at the different stages. As they're a child, they're a child.
Yes.
They're not an adult. Do not bring them into adult conversations. Don't badmouth their parent. Matriculate them through the process of making decisions. But then you've got to as they get older, you've got to recapture, make sure you do not lose yourself such that when they're now gone, you don't even know who you are. The key is to really just sit down there and say, okay, how do you understand what you've gone through, understand the lessons you've learned, the mistakes you've made, the mistakes that you've experienced, what you can learn from that so you can now go forward. Because it's still a process of learning and evolving.
Yes.
So everything you've got to be, the older you get, the more you've got to be conscious so that you can make a better decision going forward.
So true. So important.
Yeah.
So important. So fathers and mothers, because this is so important.
Oh, and can I say one more thing?
Yes.
Please, as a parent, don't look to do this is the bare minimum. And to the other parent who has do the bare minimum, who's getting support or getting resources or getting benefits or getting whatever you're getting, do not use it to weaponize against the other parent, please. There's the cases I know where one parent went from a 3,500 square foot house, 3-car garage, to living in a basement apartment, and the other one is just flaunting. That type of stuff, it doesn't do well. because now it is bitterness. So live scenarios where you two, as where possible, it's not always possible, where you can live amicably. If you can, try your best. I land my plane.
That's simple. That's so good. So good. Thank you so much, Anton, for all this very informative information, you know.
No problem.
We can use it so much, and if you are listening, I hope that you, if you're going through the process of divorce or you have divorced, man or woman, I pray that you implement many of these. Take a stock of yourself. Take a stock of where you're going, what you want to do, and see how many of what Anton has suggested that you can implement in the process. I want to say thank you so much, Anton, for coming. And I'm going to say again, Anton, he's available. He's available, so you know who to contact. I'm playing the matchmaker now. Just check my channel and my Anthony, I'm joking. Am I not? I'm joking, or yes, I'm serious for you now. Thank you so much for watching, and see you again in the living room. May God bless you. Bye-bye.